Book title: Cassidy Wants to Climb a Tree, Chapter 1. Cassidy's dream takes root. Cassidy sat on the porch steps, watching the other children play in the yard, her eyes filled with wonder. She marveled at how effortlessly they ran and jumped, their legs propelling them forward with ease. She looked down at her own pair of walking aids, sturdy metal braces that helped her move about, but still disconnected her from the freedom she longed for. Born without legs, Cassidy had never known life any differently. She had always found joy in everything she saw, whether it was the vibrant colors of a sunset or the sound of birds chirping in the trees. Her parents, who loved her dearly, made sure she never felt limited by her disability. But despite their unwavering support, there was one thing Cassidy yearned to do more than anything else. Cassidy wanted to climb a tree. She had seen the other children scaling the branches, challenging themselves to reach higher and higher. Cassidy knew that if she could just feel the rough bark against her hands and the wind in her face, she would be complete. On this particular day, the sun was shining brightly, casting a warm glow over everything. Cassidy's parents, Mr. and Mrs. Johnson, sat nearby, sipping their morning coffee. They watched as Cassidy sat in deep thought, her expressive eyes reflecting her determination. Suddenly, Cassidy called out to her parents. "Mom, Dad, do you think I could climb a tree?" Her parents exchanged glances, their hearts swelling with love and understanding. "Oh, Cassidy," Mrs. Johnson replied softly, "we wish you could. But climbing trees is a difficult task even for those with legs." Mr. Johnson chimed in, his voice equally gentle. "You have accomplished so many amazing things, sweet Cassidy. We are incredibly proud of you. But this one, climbing a tree, might be beyond your reach." Cassidy understood their concerns, yet her spirit remained unbroken. "I know it won't be easy, but I want to try. I want to feel the branches beneath my fingers and see the world from up high." Mrs. Johnson's eyes welled up with tears as she hugged Cassidy tight. "Oh, sweetheart, we admire your spirit and determination. If anyone can do it, it's you." Encouraged by her parents' support, Cassidy began researching tree climbing techniques. She devoured every book she could find, learning about different types of trees and strategies for scaling their heights. Outside, Cassidy discovered a neighbor named Charlie, an experienced tree climber who offered to teach her. Every afternoon, they would meet in the park, where Charlie patiently showed Cassidy different techniques and helped her build strength and coordination. As days turned into weeks and weeks into months, Cassidy's progress was slow but steady. She would prop herself up on her walking aids and reach for low-hanging branches, pulling herself up bit by bit. Each time she made a small gain, her determination grew stronger. As the days went by, Cassidy's obsession with climbing the tall oak tree in her backyard grew stronger. The allure of its thick branches, reaching toward the sky, beckoned to her like a magnetic force. She found herself spending hours at a time staring up at the tree, imagining the view from its highest point. But Cassidy soon realized that her desire to climb the tree would not come without its challenges. Physical barriers stood in her way, as the first branch dangled a good 6 feet above her head. The thought of hoisting herself up seemed impossible, but Cassidy was determined to climb a tree. Chapter 2, Finding Wings When You Can't Fly. Cassidy stood at the base of the towering oak tree, her heart sinking with disappointment. She had watched her friends effortlessly ascend its branches, laughing and calling to one another from their lofty perches. It seemed to Cassidy that only she couldn't join them, only she couldn't experience the thrill of climbing and reaching new heights. As she stood there, a feeling of despondency washed over her. She couldn't understand why her body wouldn't cooperate with her desire to climb. Why did she have to be different? But as her friends continued to play high above her, Cassidy realized that there was an aspect of herself she hadn't fully explored yet. She had always possessed a vivid imagination, but she had never truly embraced it as a means of self-expression. An idea began to take shape in her mind. Perhaps she could tell stories, create worlds where she could fly and soar without being held back by her physical limitations. Inspired by this thought, Cassidy rushed back to her bedroom and grabbed her favorite notebook and pen. She cleared her desk, making room for her imagination to take flight. She opened the notebook to a fresh page and began to write. Words flowed from Cassidy's pen as she painted vibrant landscapes and invented characters with wings that carried them through the sky. She wrote of magical creatures, enchanted forests, and brave heroes. In her stories, Cassidy found the solace and freedom she had been searching for. In the world she created, there were no limits, no obstacles that couldn't be overcome. Her characters soared through the pages, conquering their fears and embracing their uniqueness. As Cassidy continued to write, she found that her stories not only brought her joy, but they also allowed her to share her unique perspective with others. She shared her stories with her family, who marveled at her creativity and eagerly awaited each new installment. She even gathered the courage to read one of her stories aloud at school during show and tell, and her classmates were captivated by the adventures she wove. One day, Cassidy's English teacher, Mrs. Jenkins, approached her after class. "Cassidy, your storytelling abilities are extraordinary," she said. "Have you ever considered entering a writing competition?" Cassidy's eyes widened with excitement. She had never considered sharing her stories beyond her small circle of family and friends. The idea of her writing reaching a wider audience was both invigorating and terrifying. With Mrs. Jenkins' encouragement, Cassidy decided to submit her best story to the local writing competition. She poured her heart and imagination into her submission, hoping that others would be transported to the magical world she had created. Weeks later, Cassidy received a letter in the mail. Trembling with anticipation, she tore it open and read the words inside. Her story had won first place in the competition. The joy that filled her heart was indescribable, knowing that her words had touched others and proved that she, too, could fly, even if not in the physical realm. From that day forward, Cassidy continued to write, her imagination guiding her to new heights. She published her stories online, where readers from around the world praised her creativity and thanked her for showing them the power of imagination. Through her storytelling, Cassidy had found her wings, her way of soaring through life despite her physical limitations. She learned that the power of imagination knows no bounds and can unlock a world of possibilities. And so, with every stroke of her pen, Cassidy embraced the freedom that came with discovering her passion for writing and sharing her unique perspective with the world. But still, Cassidy wanted to climb a tree. Chapter 3: Conquering Obstacles, Reaching New Heights. With her imagination alive within her and her parents' permission, Cassidy journeyed to the nearby sports store, accompanied by her ever-supportive father. Together, they selected a sturdy rock-climbing harness and a set of carabiners, hoping that these tools would aid her in conquering the tree. Cassidy's face lit up with excitement as the store owner wished her luck on her climbing adventures. With her newfound gear in tow, Cassidy eagerly returned home to tackle the climbing challenge that lay ahead. She attached the harness securely around her waist and legs, then hooked the carabiners onto the loops, feeling a surge of confidence. As Cassidy attempted to grasp the first branch and hoist herself upward, doubt began to creep in. Her small hands struggled to find a firm grip, slipping against the rough bark. She could hear her parents' encouraging shouts from below, but fear held her back. The thought of falling, of failing, threatened to overwhelm her. Tears welled in Cassidy's eyes, but she refused to give in to her emotions. She thought back to all the stories she had read about courageous climbers who faced immense challenges but emerged victorious. She knew deep inside that she possessed the same determination and resilience. Remembering the strength and joy she found in her imagination, swallowing her fear, Cassidy took a deep breath and decided to approach the tree from a different angle. She started by stretching her steel legs in all directions, testing the flexibility, realizing that with the right technique, she could find leverage in the tree's crooks and crevices. Slowly but surely, she began to make progress, and deep inside she knew, one day Cassidy was going to climb a tree. Chapter 4: Cassidy Climbs a Tree. Days turned into weeks, and Cassidy's dedication to her goal never wavered. Each day, she spent countless hours practicing her climbing techniques, pushing her body to new limits. She built strength in her arms and legs, and her fear of heights slowly transformed into a fierce determination. But physical obstacles were not the only challenges Cassidy faced. The neighborhood kids, who often saw her struggling on the tree, began to mock and tease her. They called her names like tree climber and laughed at her aspirations. Their cruel words hurt, but Cassidy refused to let them destroy her spirit. She knew that their words were born out of their own fears and insecurities. One afternoon, as Cassidy neared the top of the tree, a boy from her school approached her, his face filled with curiosity. "Why do you climb that tree all the time?" he asked, genuine interest replacing his previous ridicule. Cassidy paused, catching her breath, before responding, "Because it challenges me. Because it makes me feel alive. And because, one day, I want to see the world from up there." The boy seemed taken aback, his perspective shifting as he realized the depth of Cassidy's passion. "That's pretty cool," he said quietly before walking away. In that moment, Cassidy understood the power of her determination. By staying true to herself and her dreams, she had the ability to change minds and challenge societal norms. With each passing day, Cassidy grew stronger, both physically and emotionally. Her muscles became toned, her movements more precise. Her parents watched with pride and awe as their daughter tackled her obstacles head-on, never losing faith in herself. And so, with every step upward, Cassidy conquered not only the physical barriers of the tall oak tree in her backyard, but also the emotional and societal hurdles that stood in her way. She proved that with unwavering determination, the seemingly impossible could become possible. Word of Cassidy's endeavor spread throughout the neighborhood, and soon, friends and neighbors began to join her. They formed a support system, cheering her on as she conquered tree after tree. Her dream had taken root not only in her heart but also in the hearts of those around her. It wasn't long before Cassidy's greatest dream became a reality. With the help of her aides and the unwavering support of her loved ones, she climbed to the top of the massive oak tree that towered at the center of the town. From her perch high in the branches, she reveled in the triumph of her accomplishment, the wind playing with her hair and a smile lighting up her face. In that moment, Cassidy realized that dreams may take time and require unconventional paths, but with determination and support, they can be realized. She had overcome her fear and proved that limbs did not define her abilities. She did. The End. Cassidy Wants to Climb a Tree, written by Jules Mahalo, October 27, 2023, a TWFI audiobook series collaboration. All for the glory of, 1. Father. Dedicated to the child within me and my dedication and courage to live a full life despite my disabilities. Thank you for visiting. Please subscribe to my channel and join me daily as I write and share from the imagination that's alive within me. Jules.